welcome back to the Chris Oldcorn Show. We are now joined by Councillor Matthew Shoemaker. This morning, Shoemaker sent out a tweet that said the following about Algoma Public Health and whether or not they should be releasing the locations of people with COVID-19. This is a bad practice at Algoma Health. Residents deserve to know whether COVID-19 is present in their community. I'm calling on APH to release the details of where the cases are from #Sue. Thank you, Matthew, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. From the time of this tweet going out, has Algoma Public Health reached out to you in any way?
No, and I'm sure they are busy managing the pandemic. I don't need a reply. I don't expect a reply. I just was sharing my view on their communication policy of not releasing the location of where the pandemic results are originating from.
And had you either in written form or spoke to them about releasing more information about the locations of people in the Algoma?
I haven't. No, I think that they've got their practice, and they're obviously I think their top priority is and should be and remains dealing with the public health crisis that we're all facing. I think a slight change in communications strategy would be beneficial to not just people's sense of having some grip on what's going on in their communities, but also to the transparency of the agency.
Yes, transparency is a great point there. I had been in contact with Algoma Public Health, and they sent me an email yesterday saying that they're actually being more transparent, even though case number 1 is, we know, 2 pages. Case number 2, we know 2 pages. Case number 3 and 4, we know 2 pages about them. Case number 5, we know 2 pages. And case number 6, the one in Elliott Lake, we have 1 line that says the following: males 50, close contact, self-isolating. Well, if that's the first case in Elliott Lake, who was he in close contact with? And information like that could be useful. Do you think the city of Sault Ste. Marie, if they had a positive case here that they knew of, would they release the information like Elliott Lake? Or would they not? Like, is there any sort of internal policy you've discussed with other members of council?
I don't know if there is a policy that exists. I was pleased with the amount of information Algoma Public Health had been putting out about the first 5 cases. I too was a bit surprised at the lack of information on the 6th case that came out the other day. So I didn't think really there was any issue until the other day. So that. I think going back to the information they used to be releasing, several pages of information about whether or not the person had been in any public areas, on any flights, on any cruise ships, etc., is all helpful info rather than kind of the bullet point information they released more recently.
Now, has the Sault Ste. Marie, the Sault Area Hospital, they have now a COVID-19 assessment center away from the hospital. It's actually near our offices here. Do you know of any sort of plans between both the city and the hospital and Algoma Public Health that if this becomes a hotspot, how they're going to deal with that? Like, I realize they've moved the assessment center away from the hospital, which is good because if someone is testing positive, they're not going to the emergency room at the hospital to do that test anymore. But we are a border town. Is there any sort of plan in place between both the hospital, the city, Algoma Public Health, that if we become a hotspot, we have a way to actually contain it as well as have enough ventilators and masks and so on? Is there an emergency plan for that you know of?
There is. There's an emergency response committee involving the mayor, CAO, Councillor Nero, Councillor Gardy. So I know that they're regularly meeting to discuss this. I know the hospital is setting up overflow capacity for the emergency room and for waiting areas. So we're seeing it kind of spring into action, if you could put it that way, at this point, in preparation for more cases developing. I think we all know there will be more cases, and the city is really playing a support role, whatever we can do to support the efforts of Sault Area Hospital, Algoma Public Health, to ensure that the response is as robust and as quick as it can be once our numbers start rising. That's what we need to be doing. That's the best thing we can do to support the public health agency and the Sioux Area Hospital, who are really the subject matter experts in the containment and the limiting of the spread of my comments on their communication strategy no way be taken as a criticism of their response to the medical issue, which they are dealing with the utmost professionalism.
Well, thank you very much. That was Councillor Matthew Shoemaker joining us today on the Chris Olcorn Show, and we'll be right back.